time last night when Jim Lovell and Fred Haise, after crawling back into this command module after their inspection of the Aquarius lunar module, heard a loud bang. It may have been a fuel tank exploding in the service module. It may have been a meteorite strike. Nobody knows. Lovell reported we had a problem. Then Mission Control went to work taking as swift action as it could. The first step that was taken was an emergency burn of the LEM's descent propulsion system engine. The engine that would have landed them on the moon had all gone normal. Using that engine, they changed their orbit. Let me clean this up here for a second. Using that engine, that will do better than that. Using that engine, they changed the orbit from what it would have been a hybrid long loop around the moon that would have taken them too far out for their oxygen to have kept them alive. They changed that orbit with a small 16-foot-per-second burn, changed it back to a normal free return orbit that carries them to within 135 miles of the moon. Our little electronic pencil smeared there. So let's try it again. That carried them to within 135 miles of the moon and then back to Earth. We're having a little electronic trouble ourselves here this morning. Let's see. And they will now do another burn back here tonight behind the moon that'll speed them back to the Pacific, and a safe splashdown, let's hope, at about 1 p.m. Saturday, Friday afternoon, where the recovery forces are waiting, and that's the way it'll appear.
Stand by one. Yeah, I got to put the cabin reprint valve in there, Jack. Every time he does that, our hearts jump in our mouth. And Jack, anytime you want to terminate TV, we're all set to go.
Jim Lovell, the commander of the flight, at the end there. Apollo 13 reaches the moon tonight. Its present trajectory will take it spinning around the moon to emerge on the other side on the way home. But the astronauts will fire their engine again to speed their return, and if all goes well, they should splash down in the Pacific north of New Zealand at about 1 p.m. Eastern Time Friday. Their spirits are good. They're sleeping one or two at a time. Houston now has confidence they'll get back safely. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News Space Center.
Good day once again from ABC Space Headquarters in New York. NASA now regards the situation of Apollo 13 as stable. And the next decision is to whether to maintain the present trajectory or improve it for the purpose of a safer, more accurate landing. It seems likely there will be another mid-course correction tonight to bring the command module and Jim Lovell, Fred Haise, and Jack Swigert down in the Pacific. The ideal would be a landing at about 1 p.m. Eastern Time Friday at a point said to be some 1,000 miles south of Pago Pago in the Southwest Pacific. Earlier today, a detailed news conference in Houston outlined all the options, and here is one portion of that news conference with Glenn Lunny, who was the flight director on duty during the critical hours since that time last night when Jim Lovell first said, "Houston, we've got a problem."
How critical is this situation right now, in your opinion?
Well, I think it is as critical, perhaps probably the most critical situation we've faced so far in the manned spaceflight program in flight. We are about 70 hours from home, and we think we have the situation in control. We've projected the consumables as I've described, and we have a plan for carrying out the rest of the mission, but there's going to be no relaxation at all as far as that goes from now until splash.
No, none at all. The situation is critical, but it must also be said the crew is safe and they are heading for home. Their supplies of oxygen, water, and power are considered adequate to bring them down probably Friday afternoon. And there will be no relaxation here either. We'll continue to bring you the latest status reports until splashdown. The decision has been made to bring Apollo 13 down on Friday. rather than try for the much more hazardous, though faster return on Thursday. A mid-course correction will be carried out tonight. Oxygen and water supplies and power supplies are considered adequate, and this plan will bring them down in the Pacific. Earlier today, at a news conference in Houston, Major General David M. Jones expressed confidence that there would be no major problems in rescuing the men when they land in the Pacific.
And at this point in time, we see no problem in being able to reach the landing point ahead of landing. And by the same token, we can cover a normal aircraft dispersal from Hawaii or through Pango if necessary.
So the ship should be there waiting for them. Now, this short burn of the Lunar Module descent engine will take place at 9:45 Eastern Standard Time tonight. And at that point, the astronauts will be on the front side of the moon heading for home. This short burn will mean a longer ride to Earth, but in the judgment of NASA officials, a safer one. All the world is watching and hoping. The Senate today passed a resolution calling on all Americans to pause at 9 o'clock tonight, 45 minutes before that burn, to pray for the safe return of the Apollo 13 astronauts. ABC News will keep you informed of all further developments on their journey home. There's been no substantive change since our last report to you about 25 or 30 minutes ago. The word now is so far so good. Apollo 13 is nearing the moon, and at approximately 9:40 tonight Eastern Time, after they come around to the front side of the moon again, a mid-course burn will put astronauts Lovell, Haise, and Swigert on the path to bring them down in the Pacific about 1 p.m. Friday afternoon, some 300 miles from the spot where they would have splashed down if the mission had gone the full route and all objectives had been achieved, landing on the moon and returning. Of course, the moon landing has been scrubbed when something as yet unexplained knocked out the power in the command module. That was last night. Right now, the situation appears to be under control. The world is praying and hoping for the best. The families of the astronauts are at their respective homes. Mrs. Haise said she does not feel as tense today as she did last night. She also said she has full confidence in the men at Mission Control and in the 3 astronauts. Mrs. Lovell planned a communion service in her home. The parents of the lone bachelor astronaut on the mission, Jack Swigert, held a prayer session in their home in Denver the very early hours of this morning. But then Swigert's father, an eye doctor, went to work as usual. To go over the essential details now, the astronauts are all right. It can be said they are heading for home. A mid-course burn tonight should bring them down in the Pacific on Friday. And ABC News will keep you informed. We'll be on the air tonight when that burn takes place to keep you abreast of all that happens on Apollo 13.